Okay, let's talk track bias. These are the most common racing surfaces. There's turf, all weather or synthetic, and under that we have polytrack is the most common racing surface that we have. And there's Tapeta at Golden Gate, and they have it at Dubai also. Some of the synthetic surfaces that Santa Anita had and Hollywood Park had, they no longer exist, at least here in the States, that I'm aware of. But we're going to talk about dirt. So when people talk about track bias, they're usually talking about dirt tracks, and they're equating a track bias with a speed bias. So who popularized the track bias? It was this guy, Steve Davidowitz. This is what he says about track bias in his book Betting Thoroughbreds. He analyzes um, various tracks. He says, at Aqueduct, it favors inside speed. Belmont favors early speed. Churchill can be manipulated into a severely biased front-running and or inside favoring strip. But what is he saying there? He's saying that there's a speed bias there. Fairgrounds, inside rail can be a big advantage. Gulfstream, a strong speed favoring bias. Louisiana Downs, a pronounced inside speed bias. Monmouth, front runners and early speed types. Pimlico, favored horses with good early speed. Saratoga, early speed is an asset. So these are Davidowitz's own words. So if they're all the same, um, he's not really showing us anything unusual here. This is he's not talking about a closer's bias or a mid-pack bias. He's talking about speed bias. So they're all the same, really. And this other guy, Quern, um, he studied thousands and thousands of races, and this is what he found. He analyzed the horse's winning percentage at first call. So if a horse was in first place at first call, he won about 26-27% of the races. If he was second at first call, the horse won about 16-17% of races. So if you look at this graph here, you'll see that the closer you are to the lead, the more likely you're going to win the race. If you're in 12th place, or basically if you're towards the back of the pack, you're less likely to win the race. So this is what Corin concluded, and to a degree, Davidowitz, maybe he doesn't say it as explicitly in his book, but Corin does. He says this specifically. He says speed is the universal track bias. But why? Well, first, speed horses save ground. Why do they save ground? Because they run along the rail. A horse that runs along the rail runs the shortest trip around the track. And this is why Olympic athletes have to race like this, right? Because if they raced in a straight line, the person racing along the rail would run the shortest trip around the track. Okay, so two, speed horses stay out of traffic. So horses that are running mid-pack have a hard time going around the wall of horses, or they get into traffic trouble and they quit. Also, speed horses stay away from kickback. So some horses hate the kickback. For example, Dullahan, a horse, he hated the kickback, and they had to move him, position him in a certain way where he wasn't getting a lot of kickback in the face, because he would get discouraged, and sometimes some horses just completely quit. And I'm going to show you an example of a race where a lot of people said this was proof that Santa Anita was speed biased on this particular day at the Breeders' Cup. Gonna watch the Breeders' Cup Mile here. Let's see. Let's open this up here. Now watch what happens here. The Golden Sense is the number 12 post, and he's gonna win this race. But watch what happens. First of all, he's gonna save ground. He's gonna go straight to the lead and straight to the rail. Okay, so watch this. From that far outside, and Rafael Bejarano wants the front, but a long shot on the inside. Broadway Empire is going to take the goes to the front, So he's gonna save potentially the most ground out of any horse here. Look what happens to Central Intelligence here. So that's one of the things that I was talking about, that horses that run mid-pack run into traffic trouble, and that's why they lose a lot of races. Now, look at Broadway Empire. If there was really a speed bias or something unusual going on, why doesn't Broadway Empire, that's racing next to Golden Sense, why doesn't he keep going? Um, Another thing to pay attention to here is the horses that are going wide, the horses that are going on the outside, like Holy Loot, he has no chance because he's not saving any ground. He's going to run furthest around the track. Um, I wanted to show something else here. Uh, just wanted to Golden Ticket here. He was in the back of the pack, and so was this horse right here. They were in the back of the pack. So if there was really something really significant going on, how come they made so much ground there? Alright, I'm just gonna move on to the next one here. Alright, let's continue with this. Alright, so what trumps a speed bias? First of all, it's pace. So if 2-3 horses go way too fast on the lead, they use up all their energy, and they only have a certain amount of energy. If they use it up, then it opens it up for a mid-pack horse or a closer. Also, uh, weather can impact the speed bias, or it can also help it. What always typically affects a speed bias are longer distances. So when horses are running a mile and a quarter races or longer than that, can affect the speed bias. Also, class. A lot of people say that since some Breeders' Cup, there's been a severe speed bias, but really, a horse can win from anywhere. We've seen horses winning from way in the back, like Kaleidoscopio 2 years ago in the Breeders' Cup Marathon, and London Bridge in the Breeders' Cup Marathon. So horses can win from anywhere if they have the class. So another reason that can affect speed bias is a dramatic manipulation of the racing surface. So they can make a certain part of the track be heavier and more tiring. Um, I'm going to show you the perfect example of what trumps speed bias. Gonna watch last year's Kentucky Derby. All right, let's see.
They're off in the Kentucky Derby. Java's War was off to a slow beginning.
Okay, so two of the reasons that I mentioned.
Now it's My Lucky Day, and coming through on the inside is Golden Sense, and Palace Malice is right up there mix as well. Then it's Oxbow to the inside. Vijack is on the...
They're gonna go too fast, so there's gonna be a pace meltdown. So that's something that affects the speed bias, where the horse doesn't matter if the horses that are in the front, that are in the lead, they have no chance if they go too fast. So this is gonna happen here. They're gonna go too fast and they're gonna go too long. So some horses are gonna get tired by the last turn. One thing that I do want to mention here is a real speed bias. I'm sorry, a real track bias occurs when there's something unusual going on, like weather. So this is what happens. This is what happens at Churchill Downs on Kentucky Derby Day when it's sloppy like this. This inside part of the track, like the 1, 2, and 3 pads, are the best part of the track. Donner Brothers talked about it in the NBC broadcast, and Calvin Borel has mentioned this in the past as well. This is how Calvin won with Street Sense by riding the rail and riding the best part of the track. He won with Street Sense like this, and he won with Mind That Bird, and he tried to win with Revolutionary like this. So just pay attention to the horses running on the rail here, like Oxbow, Golden Soul, somewhat Normandy Invasion, Revolutionary. All these horses are going to end up second, third, fourth, fifth. So let's just watch the rest of this
Far
race.
outside. In behind them comes Longshot Giant Finish, Frank Daddy Extreme outside. Then will take charge. Normandy Invasion rides the rail as they begin that wild scurry into that first turn. And then it's a length farther back to overanalyze. Lines of Battle is right there to the outside of horses. Golden Soul. And then comes Orb, who is third last as they make their way to the backstretch. Ahead of My Lud and Rosie Napravnik. Revolutionary and Calvin Burrell are on the rail, and Snow Starting Job is War. A 45 1/2 mile. An extremely fast pace.
So none of these horses that are on the pace or close to the pace, they're going to survive because they're going too fast. Or the distance got them. They've never gone this far in their lives. They've never gone a mile and a quarter before, so they're gonna tire and fade. What else do I need to mention here?
Nothing yet from Orb. He's still about 15th, but he begins to move up on the far outside. Palace Malice is the leader. He's set a torrid pace so far, and the pack is catching up quickly. Through on the inside is Oxbow, and Normandy Invasion is storming home, and they're into the...
So a lot of these horses that are racing mid-pack, they're will take charge, just runs into trouble here. Orb ran the perfect trip on the outside with the least amount of trouble. Benefited from a pace meltdown, and maybe he just loved a sloppy track. Maybe some horses just love it when it's wet out there. Alright, let's just finish this off. Alright, so what's the conclusion here? That a real track bias exists when there is something unusual going on. Speed horses or front runners winning is not unusual. This is the rule. Okay, so when people talk about a track bias or a speed bias, that's not unusual. That's what's supposed to happen, all right?